today I would like to share with you 2 strategies to transform when things go wrong, to transform your feelings to being hopeful and happy. So most often we have a habit of complaining about things when they go wrong. And there is a real need to notice when things go wrong so you can decide whether you're going to fix it or not. Now, you might wonder, that sounds an awful lot like the podcast I did on blame. And how are blaming and complaining different? Well, the underpinning emotion of blaming is fear. When you blame somebody, you are blaming from a place of fear that it's going to happen again in the future. So if you can find out what went wrong and who's responsible for it and assign that blame, then you think you can keep it from happening again in the future. So that is a fear reaction. Blame is. You don't want it to happen again in the future. Complaining, on the other hand, is a focus reaction. You are shifting your focus from what you are focused on currently. Hopefully it's something that you're happy and you feel good about, and you're shifting it to that which makes you unhappy, which you don't like. If you allow your focus to stay on that which you don't like, you will very quickly be invoking feelings of frustration. And you don't want it that way, and maybe even you're angry that it's that way, and you certainly don't like it, and so you're unhappy. So you have shifted from something that you are happy with to something that you're unhappy with, and you have allowed your focus to stay there. So I am going to encourage you with these 2 strategies to not allow your focus to stay there, because you want your power to be with hopeful, eager, happy feelings in your life. And we have discussed that those feelings have a smooth, even patterned energy wave that can sync up easily with other similar waves and connect you with what you really want in your life. So when you come across something that it is that you don't like, 2 strategies. The first strategy is to just notice it before you say anything. You're going to notice it, and you allow yourself a pause. And don't say anything. And that breaks the automatic habit of just launching into a negative label, which might allow you more time in those negative feelings. And if you just notice it and don't say anything, that's your strategy number 1. And in that pause, bring yourself to number 2, which is to allow your feelings to shift to hope. So how do you allow your feelings to shift to hope when you've just noticed something you don't like? Well, that part's easy. I shared it with you in the previous podcast, which is when you notice something that you don't like, you ask yourself a question. You ask yourself, am I going to do something about this to fix it? Am I going to dedicate my time and energy into making this different? And if so, then you dedicate your time and energy into making that different, and that automatically brings some hopeful, calm, smooth, even waves to work inside of you. If you decide to let it go, you also feel happier. You feel like, I have a happier future because I don't have to stay focused on things that I don't like. And that brings hope for your own happiness in your own future. So either way you go, you are increasing hopeful feelings within you when you decide to either do something about it or to let it go. Now, back in my doctoral dissertation days, when I was working so very hard on my doctoral dissertation, it was on this topic of the labels that we put on things. It's called attributional theory, and my research and other research has shown that when you put negative labels on something, you yourself are less happy. And when you put positive labels on things, to the extent that you can give a positive spin to things, you have more happiness and more hope. The chairman of my dissertation committee was a kind of a tough chairman. Everybody said, "You chose him, Melanie?" And I'm like, "Well, yes, but he's the king of my area of research." His name is Dr. Rick Snyder, and he has passed away now, but he was the lead researcher on hope. And research on hope shows that we have more hope feelings inside of us, more eager feelings looking forward to the future with a positive viewpoint. That's what hope is. That those feelings improve our health. We live longer, we have less disease, and they improve our happiness. And my research shows that those feelings of hope, they produce energy waves that are calm and smooth and even and can easily sync with other similar energy waves, connecting you with what you really want in your life. So, your two strategies for when you notice something you don't like, your two strategies is to notice it without saying anything. And in that pause, ask yourself, am I going to do something about this, dedicate my time and energy to fixing it, or am I going to let it go? And that is creating the shift to hope, which is your second strategy. Create that shift into hopeful feelings. Now, how would you apply this in your life? Let's just take an example. Let's say you share finances in a common household with your partner or your mate or a roommate or whatever, and you have some finances, and you don't like that your partner or your spouse is spending the money that they're spending. They spend money and you don't like that. So again, you have to say, okay, I'm noticing it. I don't like it. Now, you, again, stay away from the complain mode, and you're going to ask yourself the question, am I going to do something about this or am I going to let it go? So you might decide, okay, I think it would be a good idea to have a financial plan together. So maybe you might decide, okay, I'm going to have a conversation with my spouse or my partner or my roommate, and we're going to create a financial plan together. Maybe you would decide we're going to read a financial planning book together, and then we'll make a plan. Maybe you would decide, this is kind of worth my time and energy, and I think we should probably go to a counselor to get some help around this issue. Maybe you've tried a lot of these things already, and you say, well, they haven't worked. And so now you're going to entertain a bigger question. Am I going to do something about it or let her go? And so maybe you're going to entertain a bigger question about whether to make a change in your living situation or with this person. Those, again, they are all the same question. Am I going to do something about this or am I going to let it go? And in any of those cases, you are creating smooth, even, positive energy waves for yourself when you genuinely ask that question and come to an answer for yourself, rather than complaining. So create that hopefulness in yourself. Create it and allow that hopefulness and those feelings to just really be strong within you. Now let's take another example. Let's say you work with somebody who you don't like their way of speaking to you. Maybe you have a coworker who speaks to you harshly and you think, geez, I wish they didn't speak so harshly. That just doesn't feel good. They say things abruptly. They kind of quickly come into your workspace and maybe they're demanding. And so it just doesn't feel good. And you deal with this person every day in your work environment. Now, it would be easy to just move into complaint mode. You've probably had many complaints already about that. But I invite you to do these two steps, to notice you don't like it, and to ask yourself, am I going to do something about it or let it go? And that builds hope. So perhaps you notice that you don't like this, you two are just different people, and you decide, well, I'm going to try a conversation with this person. I'm just going to try and see if this person would be open to an idea of how to approach me differently. Like maybe they might be open to the idea that when they want to talk to me about something, they would send me a message to say, is there a good time today we can talk about this? That's one idea. You might say that you would talk to the person and ask. They could knock on your computer screen or they could knock on your door and say, is now a good time? And they could open that way. That automatically kind of softens things. Now, you may have tried that and it's not successful and you can't really think of any ideas that are going to make that better. So your choice then is to say, I am just going to choose to know we are different. I can't change this coworker. I'm not likely to make it better. We're just different. So you can let that go and just acknowledge you wish it was different, but it's not. And there's freedom in that. There's hope in that for a greater happiness in your own future when you are not burdened down by continually paying attention to that which you don't like. So you have the power within you to pay attention to that which creates hope within you. That's a very powerful emotion. It's an emotion that gives greater health inside of your body, and it's an emotion that allows you to connect more easily with happiness in your life and more opportunities that are hopeful, happy opportunities for you. So here is to shifting your emotions to greater hope and to living a more powerful life.